If you're like most folks Dr. Kris works with, you're active, you want to take ownership of your health, and you want to age gracefully. The problem is there is so much conflicting information out there about health and wellness, it's tough to know who to trust. Most providers are limited by what insurance will approve, so it can seem like they're only able to help you manage your health decline with more meds. On the DrKris.Life podcast, you'll learn how you can regain your confidence in your health journey. You'll learn helpful knowledge about programs, supplements, peptides, and hormones that Dr. Kris has used with thousands of patients just like you to help them crush their goals and be their best selves. So if you're ready to take charge of your health and are wanting to stay active and healthy so you can be a better parent, partner, or lover, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Dr. Kris podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to Peptides and Age Management with Dr. Kris of the Research Clinic. It's where we get to talk about things that, there's a segment of us out there, Dr. Kris, that you represent so well, and it's just folks that want to do better, take control of their health, learn about the things that they can do because we want to stay active. We want to stay effective in our lives and be present with our loved ones. And so I really appreciate these conversations. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a good week. How about yourself?
Doing well. I was, like I say, I always look forward to this time. So I do want to remind everybody these conversations are intended as educational, and you should always consult your physician before changing your medical program. Today we're going to talk about when can exercise be bad. For some of us, just going and starting exercise seems to be bad, but there's some of us.
The first couple of weeks can be brutal, right?
Yeah, it's like what was I thinking? But then some of us have made it over that hurdle, and maybe we're doing it wrong. Maybe we're impacting our health in a negative way, which is the opposite of our intent.
Right. Sure.
What should we look out for? How should we approach that? Why did you want to talk about that?
Well, so first of all, the good news is most of us, and so what really we're kind of going after is patients that might be over-exercising or over-stressing their body. The good news is most of us are not at that point unless you're a higher-end athlete, especially our younger athletes. I think it's something that we as providers need to really look into, especially in our teenagers and our college athletes that we may be seeing in our practice. I think one of the biggest things is as patients re-enter the gym or their exercise program, when we're saying like, when can exercise be bad, is, first of all, making sure that you've had a good health screening with your physician if you're over 40, making sure that you don't have any cardiac risk factors or things of that nature, because sometimes we can be stressing our bodies to the point to where we might end up having some actual acute cardiovascular events. So I think it's always good if you're truly re-entering the exercise world and you haven't seen your doctor, get some basic blood work, see your physician, make sure everything's okay there. So let's just say that we've cleared that hurdle. Our doc has said all is good, and Kris, go have at it in the gym, do what you want. And like you said, Steve, those first few weeks are always tough. The mental aspect of the gym is the roughest part. I also have another saying, like, once you get into it, if you leave the gym for a week, you mentally start completely over when you come back. That's why I think it's always important when we go on vacation or we go to a conference or something like that, that we at least get, even if it's a 15 to 20 minute minimal workout in, just go to the gym at the resort, do something. I really don't care if it's a great workout. It's just the mental aspect of going to the gym and staying there. It was DrKris.Life was the first person I ever heard say that. Say, if you leave the gym for a week, you start all over again mentally. And I believe it. I think it's absolutely true. But then there's some of the mistakes I see with the gym is, first of all, I still and will always say a personal trainer is worth their weight in gold, a good one. And I think that most of us are not dedicated enough, nor do we have the education to many times pull off the training that we need to do on our own. Now, Obviously, there are some that can pull it off, and then there's others that maybe financially a personal trainer is just not for them. The good news is there's tons of great apps and videos today that you can follow. But things that I always tell patients with overtraining to start looking for is, the biggest thing is you start to notice you get sick a lot more often. So, it's like, well, heck, I'm eating well, I'm exercising, I'm doing well, but golly, ever since I've been doing this, I feel like I've been sicker, like I'm getting upper respiratory infections. Let's take us out of the COVID season. I'm just, catching more bugs than I used to, and patients will ask what that's all about, and that can be a really big sign of overtraining. Soreness that doesn't go away. I mean, certainly when you start into exercising, soreness is part of it. You actually want a level of soreness to show that you're actually, testing your muscles and ligaments and tendons. If you're getting no soreness ever, you're probably not exercising hard enough. But I'm talking about that soreness that after a day just doesn't go away. That can be another sign of overtraining as well.
When there was a time, how I learned to exercise in high school was how I kept exercising for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Until I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm exercising wrong for that time of my life.
Absolutely. And that's actually something, I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see is, I'm about to be 49 in a week, I think, and change or something. So I'm approaching 50. I guess that's my point. And there's a part of me that wants to go into the gym and lift like the 20-somethings. Mm-hmm. But I also have to remember that I'm not 20-something. And that's how ligament tears and severe injuries can occur to us. And, studies prove we don't have to lift as heavy as we once did to get muscle growth, to keep our strength. We just have to do more reps with less weight, and it's perfectly fine. It may not make us feel quite as manly, but we're getting the same results. So I've tried to find that kind of in the middle because, I try to lift reasonably heavy, but not too heavy. There's a couple of guys in the gym that are much stronger than me, but I also have to remember they're also a little bit younger than me. And they're also genetically more athletically gifted than I am. So I shouldn't try to keep up with them. But, when those patients are getting sick, I like to kind of try to explain why they're getting sick. And, as we stress the body with overtraining, many times what they're doing is they're actually hurting their immune system. And what they don't realize is with the overtraining, then it's requiring more nutrients and vitamins and calories that maybe they're not putting into the body. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you put in, you just can't keep up with the level of activity that you're doing. And a lot of times what athletes will see when they're overtraining is they'll find that in addition to not only getting sick often, that their times or their whatever measurements they're using for their level of fitness actually start to go in the wrong direction despite increasing their exercise. Like a runner gets slower or a pole vaulter's height gets lower. And they're like, what the heck? I'm training more and harder and all these things. Well, it goes back to, guess what? The immune system. And we have two parts of our immune system. One's called the adaptive, one's called the innate. And the innate immune system is basically our structural barriers like cilia in our nose that can catch things as we breathe in. Our skin is a barrier. If we didn't have skin, Lord knows what would happen. But it also has the initial Treg cells. And I think I've heard it, the analogy that it's kind of like the bow and arrow. It's shooting arrows at the virus or the bacteria that's across the room, trying to keep them from getting close to us. And then we have the adaptive, which is what brings in the macrophages and the neutrophils and the monocytes, the dendrites to fight the infection once it's there. And it's one of those things that as one of the entities of our immune system goes up, the other one has to go down. It's a yin and a yang. And so when our overtraining, we'll see that adaptive immunity going up because of the stressors that we're putting on the body, which then causes our innate to go down, which then ultimately leads to a lowered level of butyrate in our GI system, which then flips our obligate anaerobes. We talked about before about how we want more obligate anaerobes than facultative anaerobes, and butyrate is the substance that we use in our body to fertilize the obligate anaerobes to keep them in control and dominance in our GI system, because all of our immunity goes back to our GI system. And as we're overtraining and that adaptive immune system is upregulating and basically working too hard, we start depleting our butyrate doses or levels, which then causes our immune system to start to suffer, which causes these elite athletes many times to be sick a lot. And I see it in my practice. I see elite high school athletes that are sick a lot. And I absolutely believe it's overtraining. Now, it's a hard topic to have with your patients and sometimes parents or trainers or coaches, because a coach is generally of the thought process, the more we work out, the better we're going to do. Also, when you're overtraining, you'll notice that a day or two off just doesn't do it. You come back and you're still fatigued, and many times it can take a long process to get those athletes back.
So, you want to rest, but you don't want to get out of your rhythm either. Is
absolutely
the fear, right?
Yeah. So a guy like you and me, or a male or a female that's in their 40s and 50s and above, is usually not going to overtrain. Okay. We're probably going to be more likely to undertrain than overtrain. But I think the biggest mistake that we see there, and I wouldn't necessarily say the exercise is bad, I'd probably just say the mistakes of exercise. And that is they go in and they do the same thing over and over and over. They have their Monday workout, they've got their Wednesday workout, they've got their Friday workout. It's the same workout every single time. And as we've talked, we've had Maury on before, my trainer here, and he's the guy that keeps me working out. And sometimes I don't like Maury. I go in and I'm like, I don't want to do that workout, and sometimes I gripe a little bit. I'm sure he's probably going to listen to this and agree. But it is what we should be doing, which is completely different workouts every time we go in, something that keeps the body guessing. I used to always say, and you maybe have heard me say this before, I used to go to a traditional gym and I used to see the same 3 or 4 guys on the treadmill at the same speed, at the same incline for the same amount of time, day after day after day. And they look the same day after day after day. And, I would just, the me now would go up to them and actually say, hey, man, you might want to do this, this, or this. But then I was like, not my business. I don't want to, make somebody upset. But, that's the common mistake that people make, is just repeating the same workout over and over. And they'll get some success in the beginning. They will, because they haven't been exercising. You go exercise, you can practically do anything and you'll get an improvement. But, once you get a month or two in, I always say, if you don't feel semi beat when you leave the gym, you probably didn't do much, but that's 30 minutes later, an hour later, you get that endorphin release and you feel fabulous because you did that good workout. To me, that's the biggest mistake most people make. And that's why, again, I just say it all the time. Even if you had a trainer just for a month or 6 weeks to get you guided down the path of what to do and at least kind of understand better, because without trainers, many times people hurt themselves, or they give up, or they're just flat out not doing the right things. And I always think that's the worst part, is actually putting the work in, but not doing it correctly. It's just unfortunate that somebody's working so hard. It's like nutrition. They're working so hard with their nutrition, but they're making such huge mistakes and they just don't know better. And it's not their fault. They just aren't properly educated, because unfortunately, so many providers aren't educated on exercise or nutrition themselves. I mean, I cringe at what I used to tell my patients with nutrition, 15 to 20 years ago. I was telling them what I was taught in medical school, but now I look back and realize, well, I wasn't taught much in medical school. It was like an hour lecture on nutrition, and it was done by a person that didn't really know. They used a food pyramid, which don't even get me started on that. And so anyway, it's just proper education.
When I think about if you are considering a trainer, I think you need to find one that understands that if he can help you or she can help you grow in strength and flexibility and balance without hurting yourself is the most important thing. When I go in and work out, I'm like, am I pushing myself enough? Or am I pushing myself too hard? That's what's going on in my head. But to have a trainer, they'll keep you out of that danger zone so you can continue to grow.
Yeah, and they actually, the great news is today we've got so many cool technologies, and like here at our office, and so many gyms do this today, but you should be, in my opinion, wearing a heart monitor at the same time so you can see what your heart rate variability is, making sure that you're keeping yourself in the zone, that upper rate, these, I think we use MyZone. It just happens to be one that we use. We actually have a big TV in our gym, and you can see everybody's heart rate. And it gets a little competitive because, if you're kind of dogging it, people see it because your heart rate is like kind of low. It's like, he's not trying very hard. Or if somebody's trying too hard, and actually Maury will do this a lot, like, hey, we actually have a couple Steves. I'm not picking on them, but I'm saying like, hey, Steve, take it down a notch. Like your heart rate is at 98% and has been there for a while. Or, hey, before you jump in on the next round, we want to make sure that variability has come down before you jump into the next set. So heart rate monitoring can be a really, really good thing. But I think also when those patients choose a trainer, don't be afraid to say, I'm only paying for like a few sessions to start with. So many times they'll like, I'm going to commit to 4 months, and they buy 4 months of sessions, and that trainer's not for them. I don't think any good trainer, if they're a good trainer, they're not going to be afraid to say, sure, pay me for 2 or 3 sessions. Let's see how it goes. And if we like each other after that, we'll continue. Because just because they're a trainer does not mean that they know what they're doing. I'm sorry. There are fantastic trainers out there, and there's trainers that went to a 1-day course and they're now a trainer. Last week they were just a person, and Monday they're a trainer. And that doesn't mean that they have to be bad. I'm just saying, like, you just got to be careful and make sure that make sure they got the right goals. Like, I think it's really important that every person sit down with their trainer and express to them, here's what I want. And what I tell my patients that I want for them is decreased body fat, increased muscle mass, and increased balance. Because those are the things that typically get people as they age. Their core strength goes down, which affects their flexibility and their balance, because what wrecks so many people's lives is the fall and fracture.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really, really affects, especially the ladies, is sarcopenia. And sarcopenia is our big fancy term for muscle loss. Basically, that 50-year-old lady at 65 is now the frail little old lady. And sarcopenia is so hard to fix once you're sarcopenic. But if you do the things you need to before becoming sarcopenic, so I'm always preaching to my 50-year-old ladies, time to add muscle, unless they're there already. And some are, I'm always like, one of the goals of hormone replacement and exercise is and that's why we do body scans, is I want to see more muscle. Now, we're not trying to turn them into bodybuilders, but, I get really excited when I see that lady who's over a year added 4 pounds of muscle. We're setting her up for success down the road. We're creating that environment that she's going to be able to live a longer, healthier life, because we know, and not only does sarcopenia lead to, loss of balance. And if you fall, you're going to probably break something, because also guess what goes with sarcopenia? Osteoporosis. Typically they're sarcopenic, osteoporotic. So their bones are thin and they don't have any muscle. And it's literally that little grandma that, is just shriveled up, and the wind blows her over, she's in trouble. But they don't heal right. Their healing is not there. And so they take forever to recover from injuries and things like that. And we certainly can help those sarcopenic patients, but the best thing we can do is get them before they become sarcopenic and fix that through all the things that we discuss.
I think a lot of us have the wrong mindset for the type of exercise. What really made an impression on me was high intensity interval training, understanding that. And then even like when you do planks, what is that called? Like isolation type exercise?
Yeah, like isometric exercises.
Isometric, yeah. So actually those are extremely effective.
Oh my God, yes. Core.
Yeah. But it's like the last thing you think about. You think you got to hit the weights, you got to get on the treadmill. It's the opposite.
Well, and I think that for us guys too, lifting weights is the little bit more sexy thing to do than go do some squats or planks or any of those different things. But it's actually at our age more important that we do those things because you're getting the weightlifting aspect just with your body weight. Maury always makes the point that you can get a great workout and never touch a weight or a dumbbell, a barbell, anything. And he's absolutely correct. You can do amazing things with just resistance bands and your body weight, and maybe an exercise ball, a Bozu ball or something of that nature. You can make simple changes too in your life for core, like what my wife does. She stands on one of those half Bozu balls while she has a stand-up desk. So instead of being lazy like me, get the stand-up desk and, you can stand on the half Bozu ball and work on your core and balance as you're working on your laptop. Because that's another thing that's really getting us is the computer. We're so hunched over and wrapped around our keyboards all day long. That's why, the stand-up desks have become popular, and that's why they are really good for us.
When you talk about being sore, one of the things that tell me if I'm wrong, but amino acids are a great supplement to take when you're exercising because it reduces that soreness. Wrong?
Yeah, it certainly can. And also, we call them the branch chain amino acids. You can also certainly not only help with soreness, but also gives those factors that you need to build muscle. And so, the biggest thing I tell patients, though, with soreness is hydration, making sure you stay properly hydrated. You'll notice your soreness goes dramatically down if you're properly hydrated. If you're not hydrated, that actually just triggers me because I had a patient the other day that this happened to. If you're new to exercise, ease into it. I kind of sometimes get these patients have the mindset of they go in 100%. No, don't do that. It's okay to kind of be behind in the gym. We'll get new workout partners and I'm like, hey man, you shouldn't be doing what we're doing. We've been doing this for months. This is your first day, slow down, do half the weight, do half the reps. Take your time, it's okay. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And so that's another thing. But going back to the soreness, the other thing with soreness is rotating body parts and really mixing in those different, it depends on how the trainer looks at it. Some go for muscle groups like, okay, today is back and bi day, I'm doing my biceps and my back, and tomorrow and next one is chest and triceps day. We kind of go more along the lines of whole body workouts, every single workout, hitting all the major muscle groups in every workout. That's why we do, the what is Maury call it, the push, pull, press, every single workout, so that we're hitting all those different muscle groups. And I don't find that the soreness is as bad versus where you go and spend an hour doing chest and biceps. Whereas in our workouts, maybe we do that for 10 minutes versus an hour. Again, different goals. If you're trying to be a bodybuilder and go to a competition, you probably do need to go to that route of today is just literally biceps and chest day. I don't think that's what most of my customers or people who are listening are probably going for. So those whole body workouts, really just going for the core, strengthen the core. I always like to tell the story that it was probably 18 years ago, and I used to get epidural steroid injections in my lower back. I was also overweight. I've told the story many times. I was 35% body fat. I was not in good shape. I had to get these shots. I was scheduled for surgery to have a laminectomy in my lower back. And I said, this all just isn't going in the right direction. So I went and got a trainer and suffered. I used to have back pain so bad it would put me down for a couple of days. And my back never had the surgery. Back rarely ever bothers me now. And it's all because of core strength, losing the gut and strengthening the core. I just think so many people undergo spinal surgeries who, if they would just get active and lose weight and strengthen the core, by no means does it fix everyone, but it will fix a lot of the patients. Bring that spine back into alignment by the core strengthening. I mean, that's what you're really doing at the end of the day. You're pulling that spine back tight, putting it back where it needs to be so that you can not have pain or discomfort.
So let's talk about what are maybe a handful of exercises or things to start working on the core in a slow, steady, long game thought process or perspective.
Well, I kind of like to tell my patients that it all kind of goes together, the core and cardiovascular endurance, and walking is a highly underrated exercise. Okay. Mm-hmm. Patients can actually get a lot of a benefit from just simply walking. So I think a good walking program is, if for somebody who's not ready, quite yet ready to go to the gym or get a trainer, start on, there's more to this, but start with a walking program, preferably about 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week at a good rapid pace. I always tell patients you shouldn't be able to talk like I'm talking if you're walking. That means you're not walking very fast, but you also shouldn't be so out of breath that you can only say one-word answers to things. That's a little too fast. I always joke, if I run into you walking, you should be able to go, "How's it going?" But you shouldn't be able to have like a whole paragraph about how's it going. So that's probably about the right pace. But you can also do the heart rate monitors, and for age, the heart rate monitors will kind of tell you where your heart rate should be. But then as far as the core, there's so many things patients can do. Again, just starting with planks. Planks are a fabulous way to start. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best. And I'm not the best planker out there. I can get lapped by we have an older gentleman in our gym that could plank forever, it seems like. But just planking, and you can do, all different kinds of planks. People can Google planking and see all these different planks that they can do, and literally just try to go as long as you can. We do the 4 minutes of planks here, where you start on the minute and you go as long as you can, and then once you collapse, then you take the rest of the minute off, and then you go to a plank again and do that 4 to 8 minutes. That's a great thing. Wall squats are a great thing for your core. A lot of times patients aren't ready to start doing squats with weights, but just literally putting your back with a exercise ball between you and the wall, and simply doing squats. And you can add some weight to that as you want to, like just literally goblet squats, like hold a dumbbell and just do that's a nice way to keep your good form, is by using a exercise ball against the wall. So squats are really, really important for core. Sit-ups are great for core. There's a plethora of things they can do. I really mainly just try to tell patients, just start getting active. Maybe get some resistance bands. Those are another great thing to do. You can literally Google resistance band exercises, and you'll find more than you ever probably want to do. They cost about $15 at Academy, so another great way to start. The good news today with the accessibility of like YouTube, you can find so many great things, and you really can't hurt yourself, in my opinion. It's pretty hard with resistance bands and body weight. I mean, that's the cool thing about it. Where people get themselves in trouble is when they start actually mixing in, true weight. That's when things can go wrong. That's when patients or people working out will start cutting corners on form. And again, that's where I think that trainer comes in at that point.
Keeps you out of the danger zone. So what are some of the supplements that we should consider? I'm wanting to improve my health a little bit. Obviously, there's all these choices of all these different supplements. Give us some suggestions, maybe a brand.
Yeah, so butyrate, as I talked a little bit earlier, and I think we talked about a few podcasts past, I'm a big fan of the butyrate. Again, that's kind of the fertilizer for the good anaerobes in our gut. And I believe, a lot of doctors believe that the gut is sort of the brains of the body minus our actual brain. And it certainly rules our immune system, and our immune system rules our overall health at the end of the day. And so butyrate, which at our office, we recommend Body Bio. bio.com, is a great place for a lot of patients to start. Butyrate's not expensive. You can get butyrate for under $40 a month. It's a really, really easy place to start. That's one that I think is really, really important. Vitamin D, crucial for so many things: our immune system, our mood, our bones and joints. Just making sure you've got a good brand of vitamin D. In our office, we recommend we use BioT brand and orthomolecular, two really, really good brands. And I guess actually I'd like to back up and say about supplements. I say it over and over, but patients have to realize that supplements are unregulated in the United States. The FDA does not oversee supplements. It's basically, supplements can be, I believe, the wild, wild west. Okay. So you've got the FDA with pharmaceutical meds, which in my opinion may even overregulate. And then you got the supplement field where it's underregulated. It would be nice if it was kind of in between. Sometimes patients can spend a lot of money on supplements and they're not getting very good supplements. There was a study done at, I think it was Walgreens quite a few years ago, and they just randomly pulled supplements off the shelves. And this is not an indictment of Walgreens because all these places sell the same brands. And they found very few supplements actually have in the capsules what is on the label. Very, very few. The majority have little to no, vitamin of what is actually on the label in it. So I always try to say, making sure you're getting pharmaceutical grade supplements. And what that means in English is that they're being independently batch tested, that what is in it is in it. So, like at our office, some patients say, well, your product's a little bit more expensive than Amazon. I'm like, yeah, but you're getting what you're supposed to. So that's my soapbox. I'll move on from that. But vitamin D, really, really crucial. One of my other favorites is DIM, DIM. It's the base compound of broccoli and Brussels sprouts. It adds a lot of great antioxidant characteristics to you, but also really helps, especially if you're on hormone replacement. It really helps with augmenting your hormone replacement. So I'm a big fan of DIM. It can be prostate protective in the guy and breast protective in the ladies. So I'm just a big fan of DIM. Really after that, I'm not a big fan of the one a day multivitamin. I think that, in my opinion, that's a waste of time. You can't cram hundreds of vitamins into a capsule or into a tablet and take it and it do anything. So I'm a much bigger fan of actually patients like in my office, we like to test things. We like to use blood. We like to use an exam and history to actually try to figure out what you really need. So, I always say, like, we put our vitamin A, D, and K2 together. DIM, those are some that I recommend pretty much for everybody. Butyrate, pretty much for everybody. After that, I really think it starts to get to individualized medicine. You really got to look at the patient, look at their labs, and figure out what's good for them. Most of the time, supplements won't hurt them. It's just many times I find a lot of patients are spending a lot of money on something that's probably not doing much. And so that's where I try to just tease that out with my patients.
I'm putting the web addresses to bodybio.com. Then we have biotmedical.com, and then orthomolecularproducts.com.
Yeah. And so the one thing about like BioT and orthomolecular is, for a patient to actually purchase those products, they have to actually go to a provider to get them. So like at our office, we're hopefully going to get our e-store up and running soon. I've been hearing that for a while, but they're still working the kinks out at BioT. But, patients, things that are over the counter, they can always call our office and we can drop ship to them. Or you can go and just find a provider that sells those products and do that. Now, Body Bio, you can order direct.
Yeah, I noticed on Body Bio, you get 15% off your first order, but they have this multivitamin package that you can consider. It looks really good as well. And that's where they have the butyrate as well.
Yeah, and I'm all for multivitamins when they split them up into multiple into a packet,
They do.
because that works, or
Mhm.
liquid. Okay, that's fine too. You know, the number one multivitamin I believe still in United States is Centrum Silver, and I always joke. My GI doc buddy says on your colonoscopy, oh, there's your Centrum Silver. You know, sitting in your colon, still fully undigested, and so. I always joke it's $1 billion product that does nothing, or at least minimal things, in my opinion. Sorry, Centrum Silver, not a fan. Uh, but it's inexpensive and people love to buy it. So anyway.
So when we're working out, there are some peptides that are even over the counter that can help you with your soreness.
Yeah, BPC 157 would be an amazing peptide for helping with soreness and actually just performance in general. You know, either as treating ailments, musculoskeletal ailments, or trying to prevent them. BPC 157, body protective juices of our stomach. As we age, our levels of BPC go down. The FDA's approved BPC to go over the counter through BioT. And it's an amazing oral product. Can give a lot of people a lot of relief from their musculoskeletal issues, specifically like osteoarthritis. Really helps with that, degenerative disc disease, things of that nature. Because, you know, you get in that kind of that, I said yin and yang, but you got this person that has like degenerative disc disease, and they're trying to go to the gym, but they're in such bad shape, like they're struggling to do anything because their back is so bad. And so sometimes we got to kind of work with the system, like with BPC and maybe thymosin beta 4 would be another one to possibly consider. It's not over the counter, but it would probably be the best for muscular injuries, like truly the person that's had so like in theory, some of these really high-end athletes could consider thymosin beta 4 occasionally, maybe for 3 months for like 3 weeks, because it's an amazing muscular healer. BPC and TB4 can be used together, of course. But that's just another thing that could happen. But yeah, BPC being over the counter is an amazing product for overall performance and healing and brain function too. It's got some neuroprotective aspects to it as well.
Again, on the recovery side, we've talked a lot about ketone esters. I think we need to continue talking about those. It's amazing what they can do for you.
And we're still unlocking what they can do for us, which is the cool part. You know, ketone esters, I think I was telling you off the air, you know, I was talking to a potential new provider here at the office, and I was talking to her about ketone esters, and we were joking, like when we go to our trainings, like, you got this, and this. What's one thing you can give them? Ketone esters. It's like the answer for everything because it's such a multifaceted product. And again, what are ketone esters? They're ketone bodies. What are ketone bodies? Ketone bodies are what we're using for fuel when we go into ketosis, like in a ketogenic diet. But what we don't always like about ketogenic diet is that it can, with a prolonged ketogenic diet, it can start to actually cause negative effects in the body, decreased performance, decreased immune system, increased gallstones, kidney stones happen. But we can use ketone esters once, twice, 3 times a day to put our body into around a millimole of ketosis for 3 to 4 hours. And we get all those positive benefits of the increased performance, increased mental clarity, less chance, in my opinion, you do better in the gym, which then lowers your chance of injury, decreased soreness, things of that nature. So great product. They're seeing great results with it, with the immune system. There's a great study out with the effects that it has with active COVID. It's just a great product. The only negatives of ketone esters is that it tastes bad and they're a little bit on the expensive side. I think they're worth it. My patients that use them and use them routinely think they're worth it too.
Yeah. We ought to have Frank on as our guest and talk to him about it sometime.
Yeah, I could actually have Crisanta work on that. We got to know Frank a little bit better at our last mastermind. He was actually there, and so he seems like a pretty open guy to jumping on things. I think we absolutely could do that.
I'm putting the website address, ketoneaid.com is where you can get it. I take it. My aunt takes it. I know other people that take it. it's just an amazing product.
Yeah, it really is. And also, if you do go to Ketone 8 and buy it there, type in research and they give you expedited shipping for free. Otherwise, you get just the U.S. postal mail for free. But they'll push up your shipping for free if you just type in research for just, using us to go there. There's a little bit of a thing.
They have some snake water now, and they sent me a free serving of that, or several servings bottle. What exactly do we expect from the snake water?
So snake water, one of my favorites, but it needs to be used in a very specific way. So snake water is Ke4, it's ketone esters, pure Ke4, combined with electrolytes, combined with a natural form of caffeine. So ketone esters or Ke4, when we say ketone esters, we're talking about specifically Ke4. And it's the snake water is really meant for around your workouts and performance. The nice thing about snake water is it has a little bit better flavor to it. It's still not like what I'd call a dessert drink, but at least better. And it gives you also a little bit of that caffeine feel to it, but not as edgy as like actual caffeine. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the natural caffeine. I have to think about that one for a second. But it's not actual caffeine, but it's an alternative natural form of caffeine that's in it.
Is it ginkgo?
Oh, no, it's another one. But anyway, it gives you that caffeine feel, but without the jitteriness. So, you could use it after workouts or before like a race, or you could use it mid-afternoon for if you feel like just pure ketone esters aren't enough to kind of get you back after maybe having that not so great lunch, and you get that carb load and then that that exhaustion you feel after it. That's where I like the snake water to use in our practice.
L-taurine?
Yes, that's it. There you go.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing that we did, we may get there, you may be going there, but let's not forget the extreme positive aspects of fasting. It's just as important of all these things, and fasting is free. It actually saves you money because you're not eating. So, it's actually like the only thing I tell my patients to do that actually saves them money at the end of the day. And fasting is so crucial to working out. It's just, there's a few things I tell my patients. If you're not willing to do it, I'm not so sure how much I can help you. One of it's alcohol use. If a person's not willing to curtail their alcohol consumption, I'm not so sure that I can ever get them where they want to be. And intermittent fasting can be nearly as important. I'm that big of a believer in it.
So talk some more about the alcohol reduction. Why is that?
Well, because, so few people actually drink the right amount of alcohol. We're actually, it's okay. We get positive benefits for our heart for 1 to 2 alcohol drinks per day. And that's, that's a shot of hard liquor. That is 5 to 6 ounces of wine. That's 12 ounces of beer, 2 servings of those. So many people, it's like, well, I only had 2 drinks. Yeah, but you poured 4 shots in that each drink, and the problem is with drinking is 1 to 2 drinks consistently every day over time for most ends up being a little more than that as time goes on. And there's an old saying in being a provider, whatever a person says, double it. And that's how much alcohol they really have. Because, oh, doc, I only have 1 or 2. Okay, 3 or 4, 6 to 8. You get the point. But the problem is what happens, in my opinion, first of all, you're putting a lot of extra calories into the body, typically most of the time when you're drinking, that aren't good for us. So wine's a favorite. What is wine? It's grapes, it's sugar. It's not great calories. And then what happens when you drink? Your diet loosens. You just, very, very few people eat really clean and drink alcohol. That you just don't see those two to go together. Now, that doesn't mean that Steve can't go out on Friday night and have a couple drinks with dinner. I'm not anti-alcohol. I think that daily alcohol can be very hard to combat. The inflammation that can occur with drinking. I just see so many people getting themselves in trouble with alcohol. They start innocently with 1 drink a day, 2 drinks a day, and then over a few years, before they know it, they're having 6 a night, and it can be a really problem. And it's a lot of wasted calories. actually all alcohol is wasted calories. There's nothing really good about it. If you are going to drink, the best things to drink are low carb beer, vodka, tequila. Watch your mixers because that's so important. Tequila alone isn't that bad. You throw it in a margarita mix and, now it's 750 to 1,000 calories because it's all sugar that you're mixing it with. So, like the skinny, the skinny vodka drinks, like club soda with vodka. Yeah, that's not a high caloric drink. It doesn't have a lot of carbs. Overall, it's not too bad. 1 or 2 a day. If that's truly what you do, that's okay. If you keep your diet, good along with it.
It's like if you're doing these other things, trying to eat better, taking these vitamins, you're doing this fasting, you're exercising, alcohol is kind of the opposite where you're going with the intent of those activities.
Absolutely. And I just find that most people who really, really are concentrating on their health, even if they are drinking, they'll find themselves at some point where they're cutting out alcohol. I try to challenge my patients. Okay, let's just go 30 days alcohol free, 30 days. Let's see how we feel at the end of 30 days. Even my drinkers only drink like 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 6 to 9 drinks a week. Give me 30 days alcohol free. It's not that bad. You can do 30 days. It's not that hard. You're not an alcoholic, so it's okay. And anyone that's ever done that for me will come back in 30 days and go, oh my God, my joints don't hurt as much. I'm sleeping better. I've lost a few fat pounds. You never have anybody come back at 30 days and go, well, I felt horrible off of alcohol. I had to go back to it because, I hurt more when I was off of alcohol and I slept worse off of alcohol. You just don't hear those things. It doesn't happen because it doesn't happen. And so, you just got to try to, in Texas, where we live in Texas, there's 2 things we try to talk patients out of doing: drinking alcohol and Dr. Peppers. And so, and people are more willing to give up alcohol sometimes than Dr. Pepper. But that's my other saying, too, is you can't drink diet or real soda and be physically fit long term, at least not most of us. So alcohol and sodas, if you're a person that consumes either one of those, it's a great thing to get rid of them. Because the thing, like down here, a lot of people drink Diet Coke. Mm-hmm. Well, your body cannot tell the difference between a Diet Coke and a Coke. So first thing I tell my patients is if you're going to drink soda, drink the real thing. Don't drink the fake stuff. And the reason is aspartame is horrible for us. It's got tons of inflammatory characteristics to it. Aspartame is a nasty, nasty substance. And people who drink diet drinks feel like they can have unlimited amounts of it. Like, okay, well, 0 calories. And they will drink 6, 7, 8 of those things a day. Whereas if they were drinking a real Coke, most of them wouldn't do that because they know it's 120 to 150 calories of pure sugar. And they're like, well, that's not real good for me. So I'm always like, if you're going to drink it, drink the real stuff. That way you kind of get that, you fix that, you get that fix that you're looking for and you can move on from it versus drinking Diet Coke all day long or diet whatever.
I think one of the most persuasive conversations I listened to, Dr. Seeds was talking about what alcohol does as far as the inhibiting communication between your cells.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cellular efficiency is decreased by alcohol. Absolutely.
Yeah. It was just really persuasive the way that he was talking about it. And it was like, made me think about it totally different.
Well, the truth is at the end of the day, we can darn near do everything if we do it in the right amounts. Mm-hmm. And alcohol can be positive in the right amounts. The problem is very few people do it in the right amount. Exercise can hurt you if you do too much. Most of us don't do enough. A cheeseburger once every 3 weeks is not going to hurt you. A cheeseburger every day is going to hurt you. And you can nearly, minus maybe hardcore illegal drugs, you can nearly go through everything and say that. So moderation is really the key to wellness. And that's all I think that's all we're really trying to do with these podcasts is help patients or help people find that moderation of we're all going to have some bad habits. I don't care. There's no perfect person. Lord knows I have enough of them. I'm really good at talking the talk. I don't always follow everything. I try. I fall off the wagon just like everybody else. I go on vacation and come back for 2 weeks and don't follow a thing. And it takes me we get busy at work. We forget. We get too busy to do some of these things. But, the part I always try to put on my patients is that if we don't do these things, it will bite us at some point. It may not be today or tomorrow or next year, but at one point in our life, most likely, if we live long enough, there will be retribution for not taking care of ourselves. And we all want to grow older and well, maybe we don't want to grow older, but we expect to get older and maybe retire or enjoy the good life. But man, when I get there, I want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to get there and be wheelchair bound or sedentary or overweight where I can't go do those things.
So to the folks that are listening to this, they're aiming to take control and drive better, at least as far as their health. They want to improve those things. If someone has a physician, they want to get in contact with you to maybe coordinate or to introduce some of these things, or maybe their physician's not open to it and they want to talk to you. What's the best way to go about that?
So you can always start with our website, theresearchclinic.com. Our phone number, our contact information is there. You're always welcome to call, talk to my staff. If it's something I need to help with, I'll be more than happy to. Also, my personal email here at the office is just simply DrKris with a K at theresearchclinic.com. I answer my emails. You're welcome to email there as well.
Well, this has been excellent. I really appreciate it. I get the most out of these because I'm here every single time, and I've changed a lot of the ways that I do stuff. So, Dr. Kris, I really appreciate you spending this time with us.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate your time as well.
All right. Well, that's another episode of Peptides and Age Management with Dr. Kris. We'll see you next week, and we'll keep on ticking off all these important topics that we need to discuss. And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining the Dr. Kris podcast. If you learned something today and you want to connect and get more information, visit our website, www.DrKris.Life, where you can find more great information or even schedule a time to learn how you can engage with Dr. Kris. Be sure to follow, like, share, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Dr. Kris podcast.